What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry for the little delay. Also, we're technically about 48 hours behind of our normal timing, so we're getting worse and worse every single week. But I will actually take some of the blame for this week. I was supposed to fly home on Sunday, actually back here to Massachusetts, and flight ended up getting canceled because out in DC, all of the traffic control towers and everything like that are all messed up. So I ended up actually having to drive home, and I got in late Monday night, which obviously wouldn't have worked with the show. And then Tuesday, we were actually originally going live, and then with all this new stuff kind of coming to light in the PDGA and the Pro Tour and, you know, people owning courses, so many things are happening that we're like, you know what, let's go live on Wednesday and we can actually get the professionals in to talk about it. So we have a jam-packed show. Ben over here is kind of my co-host sitting next to me tonight. Yes. Evan Kearns, he is in studio out in wherever he lives. I don't really know if we tell everyone where you live. New Hampshire, I guess. If they really want to find you, they're going to find you. And then, to be honest,
it's on my PDGA page. So, yeah. But yes, continue.
Okay, good. So, to be honest, we also have our fourth and name partner of the show, Matt Graham. He's actually out in Illinois right now. Matt or Ben, bring him up.
Matt,
and there he is, Matt Graham. Now we get to deal with Matt's shoddy service, so we're gonna see how well it works out tonight. But Matt is actually on ground in Illinois for the amateur and the junior world championships going on right now, and back-to-back days. It has been suspended play due to the air quality. Matt, if you can hear us, I'm going to let you take it away. Tell us what the heck is going on in Illinois.
I can hear you guys. It's definitely a choppy video. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly. Yeah. This is actually going to be exactly like the Philo interview.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not worth making me look clear,
Nah,
so, yeah, I'm out here in Peoria, and believe it or not, the first time in like 3 days, you can kind of see, well, maybe not see, the sun's shining on my face, kind of, but it's through a haze. And we thought it was haze when we first got out here, but it's actually smoke, Canada fires. And we didn't really think anything of it because it wasn't on anybody's radar, like no pun intended there either. But when we were getting ready to start play yesterday, it really still wasn't on people's radar. They went out and played their rounds in the morning. And then come the afternoon when second rounds would get started for a lot of divisions and pools, they said, hey, heads up, this, count of bad air quality, if it hits 201, like we got to suspend the rounds. And we're all like, what's this? And ultimately, some people did not go out to play rounds. Some people started their rounds. One of my sons started 5 holes. They blew the horn. Some people didn't even start their second round. Some people didn't even start their first round. Some people have 13 holes done. In all seriousness, it's pretty crazy to have the championships like this. And with pools and divisions, it's making it so much tougher because some pools split up, as a pool would be, play 1 round a day and some play 2. So it really makes it hard to shuffle anything. I'll give you the quicker version here. Update is we pretty much every round today was canceled or suspended.
Mm-hmm.
No play happened today. And they said they're hopeful. We're laughing about hopeful because they've been saying that a lot lately.
Yeah.
They're hopeful that tomorrow everything restarts a little bit different schedule than originally planned. They said they want to give everybody 4 rounds of competition. That's what their goal is, to get 4 rounds to claim to crown a world title.
Mm-hmm.
So if that happens, I think 4 rounds is enough to do that. I would say that 3 rounds would have been like unfortunate. If 4 happens, then good. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. There's a lot to talk about. You guys have any questions about like the considerations with it? I'll be glad to answer them.
Well, I mean,
but that's kind of the current situation.
Yeah, realistically, where are your kids at right now? Have they even recorded a full-on round yet? Have they, where are they at placement-wise, anything? Because you're dealing with it personally. You have children there that are playing.
Yeah, so Hunter finished his first round at Eureka Permanent, same property in the woods, just not out in the open. And Tanner started 5 holes before it was paused. So Tanner has 5 holes completed. He's 1 under par. Good for him. But that's it right now. Some people haven't done any. Again, others have done 1. Some have done 2. You wouldn't want to be in the PDGA shoes in this one. You wouldn't want to be in Nate Heinel's position in this one, because who in their right mind says I plan Worlds and one of my contingencies is, smoke from a wildfire in Canada comes down and literally lands on top of just this area. The worst air quality in the world yesterday was just up in Chicago, and we're pretty much tapping that. So there are people who are affected by that as far as medical wise. There are people that have had issues with that. So PDGA just adopted this rule after AmNats, which was about 2 weeks ago. So this is a brand new rule, not knowing this would happen here, of course, and then it gets implemented.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I'll paint the picture for you. There were, the day of, when they were canceling or suspending the rounds, there were still 50 kids out at the course I was at playing at the playground. The parents were out. People were ordering pizzas to deliver them to the pavilions. It was a party at the course, but they wouldn't let us play. So I just wanted to put that picture out there because I want people to understand there are people who are obviously affected by this negatively medically, but you also have a lot of people who would have chosen to play. They want to play. They want to be allowed to go out there and play. In fact, right now, I'm out in what would be considered very unhealthy air with my kids and with a group of other parents right now and their kids. There's a lot of people who are like, we're not experiencing negative effects right now, and we want to have fun. We're at Worlds. That doesn't mean the PDGA should just ignore their rules. I think they're important. The only considerations I would have thought of, and I'm a backseat driver here. Again, I don't want to be in their spot. I support the decision they made. Maybe something like, hey, we changed that from a rule on suspension to more of a advisement of the conditions. You choose if you want to play or not. Maybe, hey, advisement, we suggest you wear a mask of some sort or something along those lines. We saw it at the Preserve a few years ago, right? Where players were doing that. They didn't have the rule then. I get that it would be unfortunate for those who couldn't play, like choose not to play if competition went on. But the only scenario I would have really pushed for that is if they said Worlds is going to have this weather for the rest of the week, we have to cancel it. That's when I would have said, if it's the rest of the week this way, people who can't play in it just have to drop out. Let everyone else who wants to do it. But that's not the case now. We're crossing our fingers. The goal is tomorrow to start it back up. It's less rounds than initially planned on, but I think 4 will be enough to crown a world champion.
Yeah, I was going to say, so tomorrow puts you on Thursday, so you'd have round 1 on Thursday, 2, 3, 4, on and on and on. You would finish the tournament on Sunday, which, you know, for a major championship in the professional division, we do have a lot of those majors that are only 4 rounds, with Worlds being 5. But realistically, I mean, all in all, what are the amateur world championships? 6 or 7 rounds, maybe 7 or 8, depending on how many shotgun starts are going on. So I would say, kind of sitting on it from the backseat here, that 4 rounds would be plenty. You know, it's definitely different. You want the kids to go out and play as much as you can, but PDGA is obviously looking out for the safety of the kids right now. And it's just, you know, all in all, it's just an awful situation that everyone has to deal with.
It's awful.
You know, think of, you know, Matt, for you, what do you drive? 14 hours out to Illinois? You take 2 of your boys with you, and 17 hours out to Illinois. Yeah.
And then all the travel expenses. People are, you know, they're trying to look at it positively, but it's hard to spin it positive when so the positive was, I said, hey, let's get out. We just found out a few hours ago, like today was a wash. This was the most painful part about this. This is not a knock at the PDGA, but just the reality of it is they wouldn't cancel the day because they thought there was opportunities to maybe get in around. But what that forced everybody to do was sit around in ready mode all day. So you couldn't plan to go drive 3 hours west and play a course and come back that evening. It was sit here. We're going to give you updates every 2 hours and we'll notify you if we play. And every 2 hours it was, no, it's not good enough. We'll notify you in 2 hours all day from 7 a.m. this morning. So that's a pain because you're sitting in the hotel or you go to Bass Pro Shops or like we tried to make the best of it. We went bowling, like things, but like you're like, we're here, the World Championships, we want to play. That's the only downside. It's not a knock on anybody. It's just what we're experiencing.
Yeah. And Matt, you're talking about people want to play, people don't want to play, bringing medical into play. It reminds me a lot of the months and months or years and years that we dealt with COVID. There's a lot of different thoughts on it. There's a lot of hard ways to handle it. You're not going to please everyone with any single decision you make. It's going to be chaotic just by nature. So it is really unfortunate, hoping for the best. But I will say, I mean, you mentioned bowling and going to Bass Pro. I don't have any kids of my own, but having, you know, watched over kids or run activities, when you have a thunderstorm delay, trying to keep them occupied for 2 hours can be a little bit tough. Trying to keep the kids occupied for going on, I mean, close to maybe 36 hours now of suspended play. That's got to be really tough. Obviously, it's your kids, you spend time with them their whole lives. But how's that going for all the families trying to come up with new things to do?
Group messages are a thing out here. People are like, hey, what are you doing today? We're waiting right now. We'll get back to you. And so people are trying to find things to do. You can only take so many naps, but people are
Not
like,
true.
hey, are you going out to a course? Everyone's asking like, which course are you going to today and all that stuff. And everyone was just kind of like in limbo over all this. But so you're trying to get out and do stuff, but it is kind of funny. I'll paint the picture one more time and I'll finish with a story before I got to drop. I'm out at a course here with my kids, but my battery's running low. Is that one of the courses we were at where my the world champ Tanner was at, he finished 5 holes. They did suspension. We waited at the course for 4 hours at the course after suspension. And I told you we were out playing. Kids were there's a playground there. So let me paint this picture. The PDGA says, everybody, suspension, horn blows, please go to your vehicles. Now, they can't force anybody to go in their vehicles. And that's not a big deal. I don't care about that. But they can't force it. So kids are in their vehicle first. How long can kids and their families wait in a vehicle for? So you see a kid pop out after like 15, 20 minutes, go to the playground. You see another kid get out. Next thing you know, all 40 or 50 of them are at the playground and on the swings. Like there's like a merry-go-round thing spinning. Kids are throwing footballs, minis. Like it was like a party, like I said. Pizzas were delivered. And this is the craziest, unfortunate part of this whole thing. There was a kid. I'll give the first name. Shout out to Nolan. He was a kid on my son's car during the break. He's at the playground. He's 9 years old, an incredible player. Put up a fight against Tanner last year when Tanner took it down. And he's on the swings. And he says, does anybody want to see me do a backflip? And only the kids are there. They're all on the playground. Yes, exactly. So the kids are over there on the playground. The parents are like in the pavilion. And so the parents don't see this, but he goes, do you want to do a backflip? This is what I was told. And kids are like, yeah. So he does a backflip off of the swing. And you can only imagine how crazy epic that is at 9. And he does it and he lands on his throwing arm and breaks it and fractures his wrist. So after 5 holes at the World Championship, a suspension, which allowed kids to like get like out of the disc golf zone, if you will, like, hey, let's play on the playground. He breaks his wrist, his World Championship's over. My heart goes out to that family. Tears were shed. Obviously, his arm's important. The kid was like, can I throw? They're like, dude, if you throw on a fracture, you can ruin your arm for life. So he's done. And it's crazy. So, like, this is just a world that, I wanted to put it this way, will not be remembered in history because it's not a pro event. So, like, you won't really remember it. But those who are here, when talking history of it, maybe me in 10 years from now, be like, remember this one Worlds where this happened. But the experience we're getting is just really unique out here. We're really wishing for blue skies, but it's been just really crazy out here and unfortunate. And I hope we really get these rounds in. Everyone will probably feel like there was some redemption for this if they get the 4 rounds in. So
yeah, I mean, Wesley Akers in the chat is just saying forecast for tomorrow show the air quality index below 200, so they should be able to play. And obviously, that's what we're hoping for all the kids and everyone at this junior and amateur world championships. And for the amateurs and the kids, this is a meaningful life. I mean, Tanner last year, Matt's kid won the world championships in the junior 8 division. And so these are obviously huge moments for everyone in the disc golf sport right now. It's big enough to where we're talking about it on the podcast. And so obviously we're just hoping for health and safety, I would say first and foremost for everyone. Hopefully no one's got any lingering side effects after all of this, but hopefully the air quality will go down a little bit and, everyone can actually get out and play. I mean, that's realistically what they're there to do.
I will say they started out the players meeting, which it was a packed house. There's 800 people here, largest ever junior division showing. I think it was I want to say it was 375. Might have been, I think it was 3.
Yeah.
That's a lot of juniors in one place. And they started out by listing off names of professionals today who everyone knows as people who have won amateurs or junior titles in their time. And it's really cool for these juniors to hear that and be like, yo, all these players that are on the pro tour have one of these titles. So they're in that room that night. We were there and we're going to hear about them in a few years. So that's my update here, guys. I'm glad to join this way. I'm looking forward to being back on the show next Monday. So not far from now.
Perfect. Yeah, I was going to say, it's less than what it normally is. So Matt, we appreciate you coming on. I know you got the kids right now. Go out, play around, be safe, and have some fun out there. Hopefully you can actually have that the rest of the week.
Dude, you guys don't want, maybe you want my opinion eventually, but on this whole throw down the mountain thing.
Boy.
No, I'm sure you guys are talking about it tonight. So
oh no, we only got Chris Law coming on.
You guys
well, there's multiple reasons to have Chris Clark on, but not to cut off Matt.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Talk about my short version take on it is like, what is the deal here? And you don't have to talk about it now. Is this like an exit strategy for this guy from the sport? Is it like he's like, dude, my business is gonna sink, or I'm going bankrupt, or one of these things? He's like, and this unique situation happened where he gets hit by a disc. If no one knows what I'm talking about, they're gonna talk about it later. But like,
Yeah.
what is the deal? Because it seems like he is shooting himself in the foot. He's gonna be shut down. The internet's mobbing on him already.
Yeah.
Whether or not he actually has a legit case, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I don't think this is the way to do it. That's kind of my take right now. So, with that, guys,
Yeah.
peace out.
Hey, Matt, really quick, did you leave?
No, he's here.
We got
No, I'm
Okay,
here.
hey, really quick, you got a super chat from Disc Golf. Pizza money for Matt's kids. Cheers from Minnesota, gents. $10 to you. So Disc Golf, thank you so much. We'll send that over to Matt. Make sure he can get some pizza for the kids tonight.
Hey,
And Matt, we need preserve picks before you leave.
No, have him just.
oh boy. So hey,
'Cause
no
in
preserve picks. I actually
the
gave
chat doesn't
picks
count.
in the chat last
Doesn't
week.
count.
No, Nick called it out for me.
Yeah, I did.
If it doesn't
It should
count,
count
Doesn't
fine.
if it doesn't count, then I wouldn't
I'm
have shaved
kidding.
my beard
I'm
had
kidding.
Chris Dickerson won.
It does count, but I
And-
do want to hear your picks live.
Hold on. Look. Oh, I know I'm not fully on good video quality here.
Yeah.
I'm puffing out my beard. Because I
Easy
didn't
get
have
to
to
keep
shave it.
Yeah.
I was not wrong. At first, I was a little skeptical. Like, why did I do that pick? I'm going to have to shave my beard. Chris Dickerson's doing okay. But in the end, I actually picked the winners, Gannon Burr and Kristen Tatar, which I wasn't so sure about Kristen either. That's a whole nother storyline to talk about. But my picks for Preserve, holy cow. I got to have to look who's there. I'll do it in the chat. I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, you're
who's
good. Do it in the
that.
chat. We'll talk to you in a bit.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Yep, take it easy. See ya.
Bye.
Well, there we go. Matt Graham live from Illinois talking to us about the air quality control, everything going on down in Illinois currently for the junior and the amateur PDGA World Championships. We're at 7:25 Eastern time right now. We are going to be bringing in Chris Clark, actually, from discgolf.la, who just recently posted a video about the McCease LLC, which is Dylan Cease and Paul Macbeth. They had bought the course down in Florida called Throw Down the Mountain. The Canyon, I think, is one of the real names for it. And they have a lawsuit going on against them right now. Also, the PDGA, or let me rephrase this really quick.
PDGA and Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yeah, the
right?
PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour had obviously banned the transgender women from playing in the Silver Series, Elite Series, and Majors.
Not Silver Series, I don't think, right?
No, Silver Series as well. Yeah,
that's
eight tiers
okay.
and below.
Sorry, continue on.
Yeah,
I do
8
want to talk
tiers and
about
below, they are allowed to play. Silver Series, Elite Series, and Majors, they are not currently. Out in Minnesota, though, Natalie and her team of lawyers had actually filed suit to put, I think it's called the TRO, which is a temporary restraining order, into pretty much blocking what the DGPT and the PDGA have said. That was granted actually today, just a little bit before the show. So we're going to have Chris come on, talk to us about that. The DGPT made a quick little statement. You can check it out on dgpt.com. But Chris should be coming in the next few minutes. Realistically, we're just going to talk disc golf. I'm going to let Evan take it away. We got about 4 minutes before we bring Chris on. So realistically, Evan, let's talk about the European event that just happened this past weekend before we get into Des Moines Challenge, which will happen a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about the European event, of course. Paul Macbeth over playing at the Crokel Open. UDIS has this course as the number 2 in the world. Very cool course that a lot of people are excited to see on coverage. Apparently players were like dying to play it more after the rounds were finished for the tournament. Really cool course, new one that we get to see. Not the strongest MPO field, but we did see Paul Macbeth, Bradley Williams, and Jakob Semerad kind of be the notable players who have played Disc Golf Pro Tour events who have played this. And notably, Bradley Williams takes it down. It was his first ever event over in Europe or even outside the United States as a whole. And he wins, which is really cool, over in Norway, which I believe girlfriend's the right way to put the significant other tag on him and Lucky Lorenzen, who is from Norway. So that is one of the major reasons why he's over there, and then getting a head start, I'm sure, on the European swing. But an exciting round. Paul Macbeth and Bradley Williams are actually trailing to, it was Elias Luukkonen, right?
Yes.
I didn't check what was in round 2, but I recognize that name. I believe he was leading into the round 3. He's a up and comer. Unfortunately, didn't come away with a win. Bradley Williams came back. Paul Macbeth finishes second, just a single stroke behind. In FPO, we saw Silva Saarinen win. I think I've said her name before on this show. It's her first win of the season, but she Had some solid events earlier in the year over in the US, actually, playing, I believe, in Champions Cup, some elite events and silver events in the early spring season. I think her best finish was 12th at Innova Blue Ridge Championship. She gets that win over there. She's won a European Pro Tour in the past, Prodigy Pro Tour in the past, but her first win of this year on the Euro Tour, her first career Euro Tour win. Very cool to see that. I think we'll talk a little bit about that course later in the show, but we'll keep it quick and swing it over to the Des Moines Challenge, which happened.
Yeah, really quick. I'm gonna cut you off really quick. And I lost my chat, Ben. When you get a chance, if you can bring that back up on my side, that'd be awesome. Just because I was gonna actually ask the chat this question, and thank you, Ben. And it was, someone said, let's see, Paul blew it, I think, on hole 14 or 15, took a double bogey on a par 3, had a brain fart or whatever. Can someone tell me what happened? I actually wasn't able to watch that part of it. I was pretty sure I was doing something. I think I was at a pool actually that day, so I wasn't watching coverage. But yeah, if someone can just in the chat just briefly explain what happened on that hole. Did he 3-putt it? Did he 4-putt it? What happened? That'd be great. But Evan, back to you, Des Moines.
All right. So we had some crazy weather going on in Des Moines, just like we're seeing at Junior Worlds, just like we saw at Zootown just a few weeks ago in Montana. We're just getting to that summer stretch where there's thunderstorms. There's, wildfires happening in other parts of the continent affecting us, and just different kinds of weather. The FPO was able to play all 3 rounds, but they had a lot of hurdles to jump through to get to that point. MPO only played 2 rounds. It was called about halfway through the FPO lead card's second round. Day 1 went as normal. Day 2 ended fairly earlier, and they paused until Sunday morning. FPO lead card finished up the back half and then had a short break before playing round 3, finishing round 3, and then MPO played their round 2, which was the second and final round on Sunday with some crazy windy weather. We saw Kristen Tatar take it down, her 7th win of the year from 11 starts. She's continuing her dominance of last year. I think everyone was expecting that, but it has been really awesome to see Kristen just play so well this year, picking up another win. Gannon Burr takes it down in his home state of Iowa. Pretty sizable lead by the end of it, but it was very exciting going all the way to the end. Gannon Burr actually, most people would expect him to lay up a circle 2 putt when he has a, at that point, 3-stroke lead to then win by 2. Seems pretty obvious. What does Gannon Burr do? Hypes up the crowd, then makes like a 45-footer to win it. Very cool to see there. It was only the 4th MPO 2-round elite or major we have seen in history. The last one we had was 2020 Waco, where Colton Montgomery won. And that was the first event right when COVID was breaking out and lots of NBA was canceling, things like that. And that, again, was a 2-round event where it was known before the second round that was going to be the second and final round. Paige Pierce was leading in FPO going into that weather delay. She notably struggled after coming back. I think she started with a double or maybe even triple bogey. I think it was a double bogey while Kristen Tatar birdied the first hole after play resumed Sunday morning. And then it kind of went from there, ended up losing by a sizable margin, but was playing incredibly well before the delay. Missy Gannon picked up a second place finish and moves into second place in Disc Golf Pro Tour points as well. Over in MPO, Isaac Robinson gets another podium. He finished in second. He moves up into 5th in the Statmando official rankings, his best ranking of his career, passing Paul McBeth, who also finished second but at a weaker field over in Europe. And then a few players who haven't seen podiums before or in a while on elite and major events. Ezra Robinson, Isaac Robinson's brother, finishing 1 spot behind him. Greg Barsby picks up his first elite podium since Texas State's last year. Gavin Babcock picks up his first podium as well. And then a player who's not new to finishing on the podium, Calvin Heimberg, also does that as well. Did I miss anything, Nick?
No, I think that's a big thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Des Moines afterwards. I while we're doing the show, I like to read the chat, and I like to make sure that the chat is, happy and everything. And apparently, I'm just having the worst microphone luck in the world. Hole 30, you said Nick's microphone sounds horrible. Just asking what is going on with it.
It's
Maybe
buzzing.
we can.
Bzz, do you hear that? Bzz?
I kind of hear the buzzing. Yeah. Is there any way to fix it?
I don't know how to fix it now. It's never happened. So
for some odd reason, I'm just apparently the worst person when it comes to podcasting, and for some odd reason, I'm just having awful luck with microphones lately. Hopefully, though, hopefully you'll be able to bear with us and maybe we can turn it down a little bit. I'm not really sure. I can talk louder if need be. Anyways, Ben, do we have Chris in the green room?
We have Chris in.
So Evan, we'll talk about Des Moines a little bit more afterwards, kind of get into the more full-on details about it. But right now we're going to bring in Chris Clark from discgolf.law, and he's going to talk to us about the numerous different things going on in the PDGA world right now and in disc golf in general. So Ben, when you get a chance, bring him on in. We'll introduce Chris Clark from discgolf.law. There he is.
I forget I'm in Matt's seat.
Chris, you're here. Man, I don't even know if you need an introduction at this point. We might just put this the Nick and Matt and Chris show when it comes to lawyer talk. You've been our guy to reach out to about all of these things going on in the sport. Man, I don't even care where you start. Everyone is very curious on what the hell is going on in the disc golf world right now. So wherever you want to start it, go for it. I'm going to let you free reign as much as you want.
You know, the Nick and Chris show has a pretty good ring to it.
I like it.
You know,
Yeah.
Matt is, I don't know if Matt's here to defend himself or not, but yeah, there's been a few things going on. I think maybe the more straightforward one to cover is the lawsuit that was filed in Florida against McCease LLC, which is the company that is co-owned by Dylan Cease, the pitcher, and Paul McBeth, relative to the Grand Canyon course. A lot of people call it the Throw Down the Mountain course. What apparently happened there was individual that was participating in, I believe it was weekend 3 of the Throw Down the Mountain tournament, and was struck by a disc and apparently suffered some injuries. Made his way off the course, wasn't able to finish the tournament. This was in the final round. This was on Sunday, and a few days later filed a lawsuit against McCease LLC, seeking damages in excess of $50,000 and alleging, you know, permanent injury and all kinds of things. So, you know, that has raised a lot of eyebrows online. It seems this individual, who I don't know at all, I only know what I've read and what people have told me. It's being thought that this is perhaps more of a cash grab than it is an injured person seeking to be made whole for their injuries. Again, I don't want to disparage this guy because I don't know him, and I only know, you know, what people have told me and what I've read. But it is noteworthy that after he apparently suffered these injuries that were serious enough for him to sue over, and in his lawsuit he does allege permanent injury, he did go on to play at least 2 PDGA sanctioned events a couple months later. So good news, I guess, is that he sounds like he's feeling better. Lot of questions around, you know, could there maybe have been a different way that this could have been handled? Is it even valid for someone to make a claim when they go on to a disc golf course and compete? Aren't they somewhat assuming the risk that there may be some type of injury? You know, that's sort of been what the discussion has been around. But, you know, that was filed recently enough that there has not been a response or an answer filed by McCease. So we don't know exactly where that's going to go or how it's going to get resolved. But it has definitely captured the attention of a lot of disc golfers and disc golf fans.
So this was a PDGA event. It was a PDGA sanction event. And as far as I'm aware, when you run PDGA sanction events, you get the PDGA insurance, which I believe is up to $1 million, but you can maybe specify how that works. So he is the individual is suing McCease LLC instead of going to the PDGA insurance. So as far as legal sense goes, it's clear that, well, okay, not as far as legal sense go. A quick opinion, it seems like he's going after the people who supposedly have money and have things to lose because the course is currently they're not letting people play it while this lawsuit is going on. So why did this the PDGA, I'm phrasing this question terribly, but I think you know where I'm going. The PDGA has insurance. Yeah. Why isn't that coming into play? And instead it's a lawsuit towards McCease LLC.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, and I've said this before, but at the risk of repeating myself, if you think about the sheer volume of PDGA sanctioned events that happen on a weekly basis, um, this can't be the only time that somebody's gotten hit by a disc and suffered an injury that was perhaps serious enough to retire from the event and even possibly seek medical treatment. So why is this the one that has resulted in a lawsuit rather than, as you pointed out, going through what would perhaps be the more conventional channels of seeking recovery through the PDGA's insurance policy? I think we can all make our own assumptions about that. And again, I'm not here. This gentleman, his name is Trevor. I'm not here to pick on Trevor or not knock him. And perhaps he suffered a serious injury and now he's feeling better. And that's entirely, I'll leave the door open for that possibility. But it certainly does, from the circumstances, look like while most of us would likely have chosen to seek recovery through the PDGA insurance, he's chosen a different route. And why that is, we can all make our own assumptions.
So while this is going on, the course is not playable. Is that just a choice by McCease LLC, or is that any kind of legal reason for that? Why is the course closed down?
It's a great question. I have spoken to some members of the tournament staff that were on site that day, and I actually didn't ask them that question. I'm not even sure if they were the ones that were involved in making the decision or not. My hunch would be that the one of the allegations in the lawsuit was that there was an unsafe condition, like this course was unsafe, and that the property owners or the tournament staff should have known that it was unsafe, and therefore they bear some responsibility for this injury. And while I expect the folks there at the course and McCease team probably disagree that there's an unsafe condition that caused this injury, maybe out of an abundance of caution, they just have decided, look, if there's a chance that we might get held liable for an injury on this course, let's pause, let's hold off, and let's not have any other events on the course right now until this gets resolved. That's my guess.
Realistically, though, can you kind of say that every single course has a safety issue to it? If there's any holes where if you can't, if your first shot is supposed to go 250 feet around a bend and then your second shot goes around another bend where it's blind, isn't that kind of up to the players at that point to make the decision to walk up the fairway, make sure the coast is clear, and then to throw a disc? I'm just kind of curious of, like, I feel like in a sense every single course could be labeled under that.
Yeah, I think it's likely that part of McCease's defense will be that exactly what you said. As disc golfers, we walk onto the course understanding that we're assuming a certain level of risk. Look, I'm sitting in my office right now. The disc golf course that is closest to me, I have seen players tee off the first tee and hit people playing tennis on the tennis court, which if you knew the course, you would probably laugh that that was a possibility, but it happens. And so I only use that example to reinforce the point that you're making, which is, yeah, any course could conceivably be dangerous and be one where players could be subject to injury. And perhaps the most common injury, I don't know, maybe a twisted ankle or somebody falls down or something, but certainly a common injury would be getting hit by a flying disc on the course.
Yeah, and realistically, I mean, for pay-to-play courses, and this is just kind of around the world, up in New England, in our backyard, we have Pyramids and Maple Hill. Every single time you go to those places, you sign in. For Maple Hill, you sign up online through the tee time. At Pyramids, you either sign up online with the tee time or you go and you write your name in the book, and that's kind of the waiver. Now, I know every single course probably has technically a different waiver, but what does the waiver kind of ensure? That isn't that more of, if, say I'm playing a course down in Texas, it's pay to play and I sign this waiver, isn't that kind of saying I'm liable for injury sustained on the course that the property or the business in and of itself isn't? I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are doing a great job of running down all the possible defenses that McCease has
Mhm.
in this case, and I have been told again by multiple people that were on site that yes, every player signed a liability waiver, and apparently the process at this course is you get a wristband
Mhm.
when you sign this waiver, and so I'm told, and I haven't been contradicted when I've said this, that yes, every player, including the plaintiff in this case, did sign a liability waiver. And I suspect that's one of the many things that will be raised in McCease's defense, assuming that they file an answer to this case, which I have no reason to think they won't.
Yeah. So as you're kind of just saying, the questions that we've asked so far, kind of, let's say, in the defense of the McCease LLC. Now let's talk about the kind of, defense for the plaintiff in and of itself. And Trevor, where kind of, is there anything that you've been able to read about or hear about that would, lead you to believe that, this could lead in his direction for any specific reason?
No, there's nothing I've heard that would indicate that this will go his way. On the other hand, it is it's a little bit of a nuanced area, but just generally speaking, if a person signs a liability waiver and despite that, there is a dangerous condition on the course that the owners or the tournament staff were aware of or should have been aware of, but they chose to do nothing about this dangerous condition,
Mhm.
then in those cases, it's likely that that liability waiver would not be enforceable and would not protect the defendants in that case.
Now, let me give you kind of a little bit of a stupid example of that. If there was an alligator on hole 18's pond and everyone knew about an alligator and no one did anything to remove said alligator, suspend a play so that animal control can come in, that would be something like you're talking about right now, to where the liability would then not work.
Yeah, that's not even the most absurd example that I've heard.
I just figured Florida alligators, we got them. So
I can't remember who it was, but somebody said, if you sign a liability waiver and you're playing the course and the TD comes over and shoves you off a cliff, your liability waiver is not going to protect the TD in that case.
Yeah.
That's generally the concept there.
Nice. Okay.
So what are we thinking for a timetable on this? Is there any indication that this could be something that's resolved, let's say quickly, like week or two? Could this be something that drags on for months and months, if not a year or years?
I don't think it's likely to drag on very long. In most states, when you file a lawsuit, the defendant, once they're served with the lawsuit, has a period of time in which to respond. Some states it's 30 days. I believe in this state, I may be wrong, but just going from my memory, I think it might be 21 days here. That deadline frequently gets extended. That's customary when lawsuits get filed if the defense needs a little extra time in order to file an answer. So my hunch would be that in the next 45 to 60 days, we will know something more about this, and whether that will just be in the form of McCease filing an answer or perhaps seeking to have the case dismissed for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted or something like that. I'm not a litigator, so I'm probably not the right person to advise on what the strategy might be there, but I do expect in terms of a time frame, we'll probably know something, like I said, 45 to 60 days.
And do we know when this was filed? We heard about it over the weekend. Was it kind of hidden for a week or two, or was it just recently filed?
I did know the filing date. It's fairly recent. I'll tell you this. I'm fairly confident that the 21 days in which, well, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I can definitely check. I can look that up and maybe shoot you a message and let you know.
All right, or we'll leave the speculating to us on the show, and not the person who's trying to hold up lawyer integrity. I'm going to get to like a slightly different subject within this space. If I own a course and I, have people pay $5 and sign a waiver, should I be worried that somebody is going to sue me and that I might have to shut down for 21 days or more, or have to hire lawyers, all this whole nonsense. Or I shouldn't say nonsense. That's not the right words. Excuse me. But I'm not calling lawyers nonsense. Want to be very clear there. If I have a course, should I be worried that there could be a case against my course?
Well, the first question you should ask yourself is, am I the richest disc golfer in the world or a Major League Baseball pitcher? And if the answer to either of those questions is yes, you definitely should be worried. For most people, I think probably not. It goes back to what we were just talking about. Certainly, if you're aware of some danger on the course and you choose not to do anything about it, that would be worrisome. But for the most part, I think most of us understand that injuries happen on the course, and typically it's really an accident. It's not really anybody's fault. So I actually was talking with a client who owns a disc golf course today about this. And my recommendation is just, get some good insurance in place. That type of insurance isn't terribly expensive. And not only would it cover you if someone got injured on your course, but if they decided to go the lawsuit route and to sue you, most of those policies, at least that I'm aware of, do provide you with a legal defense. So you wouldn't even have to go out of pocket to hire a lawyer. Maybe if your policy has a deductible, you may have to pay the deductible. But yeah, I would say, individuals or even entities like McSeese that own courses, having some insurance is probably a good idea.
Yeah, great insight.
Yeah. So have you watched the show Suits at all? I don't know if you're one of those lawyers who like to watch what lawyer shows are out there. I know it's funny when people are like, this is how real, like doctors, doing scenes from Grey's Anatomy say this is not at all what surgery is actually like. Anyway, so there's a show called Suits, and one of the things that they talk about a lot in the show is countersuits. Is there any, if this goes on for X amount of time, and I'm not really sure how the whole lawyer litigation and everything like that works, but is there any countersuit kind of could potentially happen after this stuff gets settled?
That's a good question. Not that I can think of. I'm not aware of any grounds that McSeese would have to bring a claim against the plaintiff, Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
I am aware that filing frivolous lawsuits can get plaintiffs in trouble. It can get plaintiffs' lawyers in trouble. I'm not at all suggesting that would apply in this case. I don't even know what the elements of that would be or what you would have to show in order to prove that. I think it's unlikely that McSeese would have any claims against the plaintiff.
Gotcha.
Well, we had another big news happening. Nick, I don't want to cut you short if you have any last questions about the McSeese stuff.
You're good.
But just earlier today, like 2-3 hours ago, it was publicized that, if I'm saying it correctly, Natalie Ryan won a temporary restraining order against the PDGA and Disc Golf Pro Tour, which will allow her to play in the Preserve Championship, I believe is the official title, this weekend in Minnesota. Am I correct? And let us know what details you found from that.
Yes, you're correct. So Natalie filed a lawsuit against the PDGA, against the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and against LaVisca Disc Golf Design in Minnesota. And along with her lawsuit filing, she also requested a temporary injunction that would require the Disc Golf Pro Tour to allow her to play in the FPO division and the Preserve. That was granted by the judge, and I did have a chance to read through the order. I haven't analyzed it very closely, but it appears on my first reading to be pretty problematic for the defendants in this case. Obviously, this is in Minnesota State Court. Minnesota court decisions apply in Minnesota. They typically would not have any type of binding authority outside Minnesota. But one of the factors that the court has to weigh when somebody asks for a temporary injunction is how likely is the plaintiff to prevail in their lawsuit. And this court pretty clearly said they think Natalie has a good chance to prevail, not only against the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but also against LaVisca Disc Golf Design on her allegation that it aided and abetted the discrimination that was being perpetrated by the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour. The statute that Natalie relied on when she filed her suit was the Minnesota Human Rights Act. And I could not find fault with the judge's reasoning based on the language of the Minnesota statute in granting Natalie's request. And, you know, I think I think one thing that was perhaps the most different, I guess that's not the most eloquent way to say it, but the thing that was the most different about this Minnesota lawsuit filing as compared to the lawsuit that she filed in California was that Minnesota does have a case where a trans woman athlete, a power lifter, did for the most part prevail against USA Powerlifting on fairly similar facts to the facts in Natalie's case. And so the judge specifically said, I've considered the arguments from the defendants in trying to distinguish Natalie's situation from this JC Cooper powerlifting case, and I do not find them persuasive. And so, you know, I think there's a big problem for the defendants there in Minnesota on this case.
That's a fantastic insight that we really appreciate you having you on to explain all this to us like we're five, because I definitely need it. If she were to want to play in other Disc Golf Pro Tour events throughout the season in other states, we obviously saw her doing in California for the OTB Open, but if she wanted to play in any more past the preserve, she would also have to file similar things in each state. So is there any process for her that isn't just repetitive state after state after state, or is that really what her future is, to try to play on the Disc Golf Pro Tour outside of Minnesota?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one I've been asked a lot, and I never have a really great answer. The one possibility is that this does make it into the federal court system and ultimately up to the United States Supreme Court. And if the United States Supreme Court were to issue a ruling, that would obviously apply across the nation, regardless of what state we were in. I think we're a long way from that. I'm not even sure what the clear path would be to get that there. And a really good point was brought up to me that Natalie's not the only trans woman athlete that is filing these types of lawsuits. And so it may even be the case that this gets decided through another sport. And then that would then come down and apply to disc golf, obviously. As it is right now, I don't know of any strategy that she could use other than to go state by state and file these types of lawsuits. And I believe California was a great venue for her to file in. I think Minnesota, in light of there being a prior case with similar facts, was also a great venue for her to file in. I am aware that there are states out there, including the state where I am, North Carolina, that has passed legislation specifically addressing this. And those states, it would, I believe, be far less likely that Natalie could prevail. So yeah, we may be facing a situation where there is sort of a patchwork quilt of laws, and we, like we do with a lot of other issues, have different rules that apply in different states.
Now,
sorry, go ahead, Nick.
Thank you.
I've asked a lot.
No, you're good. Hey, so one of the things that we saw actually out in the California case was Natalie Ryan was actually granted permission to play in the event. She played the first round, and then after that, the DGPT and the PDGA had kind of countersued, if I'm saying that correctly. They had countersued it and were able to win that one. Do we kind of potentially see the PDGA and the DGPT doing that for the Preserve Championships or Leviska LLC? How does all that kind of work in this situation?
Yeah, so they appealed the ruling of the trial court out in California, and they certainly have the option to do that here as well. The Disc Golf Pro Tour released a statement today after the injunction was granted, saying they intend to abide by the court's ruling. And I interpreted that to mean it's not likely that they're going to file an appeal. It was then pointed out to me that they said the same thing after the injunction was granted in California.
Yeah.
And they still did actually file the appeal, and they didn't, at least with respect to the second and third round at OTB, they didn't follow the trial court's order. They followed the Court of Appeals reversal of the order. So I don't think we know. Nothing really more than a hunch. I feel like it's unlikely an appeal will get filed, but I'm pretty bad at predicting the future. So I guess we'll just wait and see.
I say, if you're good at it, let me know what the next lottery numbers are, because we're at about 500 million for almost both of them. So, got to get on that.
I'd just like to win an NFL bet one time.
There you go. Yeah. A little DraftKings going on. Yeah. I mean, how long have you been realistically involved with disc golf now? Obviously, you've been a lawyer for a very long time, but how long have you been in the more disc golf law aspect of things?
Sure. I started playing the game over 30 years ago, and then went to school, got married, had a family, had a career. So didn't spend a lot of time on the course, would play casually, maybe like a couple rounds a year or something like that. And then, like so many of us during the pandemic, just kind of got re-energized around playing the game. Also, my son, Matt, who works with me here at the law firm, was instrumental in drawing me back into the game because he had fallen in love with it as well. And we just observed that player endorsement contracts were getting bigger. Purses at tournaments were getting bigger. There were an enormous number of people flocking to the sport. And so I guess it was probably 2001 that it occurred to us, we understand the culture of disc golf, and we understand that it's very friendly and collegial for the most part and somewhat informal for the most part. But we observed that there was likely to be a need for experienced, seasoned legal counsel because the dollars involved in the sport were getting big enough to require that. And it's a little bit funny to be sitting here with you on the third or fourth time I've been on the show to talk about legal stuff, because I cannot tell you how many people told us how stupid it was to have a law firm that focuses on legal issues in disc golf. They said, why in the world would we ever need that? What in the world are you going to have to work on? And so it's a little validating, at least in 2023, there's been no shortage of legal issues arising in our sport, and I expect that'll continue.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, what kind of jump-started, I think, all this, especially with you coming onto the show, was the Gannon Burke case with Prodigy. And now that's pretty much at this point been all settled up there. Gannon is at least finishing his contract for this year, maybe re-ups it, maybe doesn't, but seems like he's going to be playing. Is there anything else that we missed with both the McCease LLC and the Natalie Ryan situation?
I don't think so. I think it will be. So I was at the OTB Open in person. And so I watched Natalie tee off in round one. And there were a group of people there to support her. There were a group of people there who did not think that she should be playing in FPO, and so they were there representing the opposing view. But for the most part, what I observed, everyone conducted themselves appropriately. And I know that for Natalie, that hasn't always been the case, some of the other tournaments that she's played. And so I'm just optimistic that whether you agree or disagree with the court's ruling, that there won't be any of the ugly behavior that Natalie's experienced in some of the other tournaments that she's played. There's an appropriate venue to address this, and it's through the PDGA, it's through the Disc Golf Pro Tour, or through the courts. I don't think, having signs or screaming at players on the disc golf course is the right way to handle it. So that would be the only thing that I would say that maybe we didn't cover, is just optimism around a great, exciting event this weekend without too much drama.
No, definitely. I did think of one thing really quick. Evan, I kind of cut you off earlier too. Do you remember what you were going to say?
Mine was pretty minor. I was all I was going to ask is about Europe, and I figured that was going to be a hard question to answer. So unless you wanted to talk about European law with Natalie Ryan, I figured that's going to be a hard thing to answer. So
score one for Evan. That's one I have not been asked about or really even thought about. I'll have to give that some thought. I don't know where to begin on that one.
That's what I figured, but I at least wanted to ask. And that's it for me, Nick.
All right. I guess my last question, this is actually something that got brought into conversation with just some friends and I not too long ago, is right now Natalie is allowed to play the Preserve. Normally before that, it was no majors, no Elite Series, and no Silver Series, but she can still play A tiers, B tiers, and C tiers. Kind of give me a quick little explanation on maybe one, why the PDGA would rule it like that, and two, how does that kind of come about? Is, hey, you can't play these things, but you're allowed to play these things.
That is a great question, and I suspect there are people that know more about the answer to this question than I do, probably a lot more. I suspect that the PDGA perhaps was trying to structure a policy that was something other than an outright ban of trans women playing. And so perhaps there was some line of thinking that said, well, if we just apply this, keep in mind, the PDGA just made the policy for majors, really. And the PDGA's policy was that, for A, B, and C tiers, the rules applied differently. And then it was the Disc Golf Pro Tour that came along and adopted the policy for PDGA majors for the Disc Golf Pro Tour events.
Okay.
And it's interesting. The PDGA actually, in the court filings in this Minnesota lawsuit, made that argument a little bit, almost kind of like throwing the Disc Golf Pro Tour under the bus a little bit. The PDGA said, hey, we didn't make any policy relative to the Preserve Championship. Our policy was for our majors. It was the Pro Tour over here that made this policy that's keeping Natalie out of playing FPO at the Preserve, which I thought was a little bit amusing. But, does that address what you asked? I mean,
yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
I know some people in the chat are going to say, like suing everything would be horrible for PR for the PDGA, but I had actually not heard what you had just said, which, the PDGA more so was just for the majors, and the DGPT adopted the Silver Series into the Elite Series into that. I've actually never even thought of it that way. One helps grow the other one. Without PDGA members, there aren't future tour members. Without future tour members, there's no Disc Golf Network. Without no Disc Golf Network, yada, 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 there's no Disc Golf Pro Tour in general. So yeah, definitely a wild year for 2023.
Structuring a policy around this issue is incredibly difficult and complicated. Sometimes people watch the videos on our YouTube channel and I get criticized for beating up on the PDGA, and I don't think that I do, but or at least maybe not too much. Maybe I do a little bit, but they had a very difficult challenge in crafting this policy. And so do I necessarily think they came up with the best policy, or would I have necessarily made the same policy or made it in the same way? Probably not, but I want to also cut them a little slack, because really, no matter what they did, people were going to be upset.
Yeah.
And so it is a confusing policy. I would be interested for somebody to reach out to me, and if they've got a better explanation than I gave about why they made that bifurcated policy, I'd love to hear it. But I can't beat them up too much, because I think it was a really challenging task that they had on their hands.
Yeah, and I guess you can kind of look at it in the California case, where the PDGA, I think, kind of worked with the Pro Tour on maybe appealing the TRO that was happening out in California. Now, one of the biggest things is, look, our next major in the sport is actually just happening in a few weeks from now, the European Open. We're not really sure on that. Evan had, stumped you on that question. Our next major here in the US, though, is by the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Smuggler's Notch up at the World Championships. I could, put money on it that I would definitely bet to say that she will probably try to file something for in Vermont. So I'm just kind of curiosity, is there anything, that's even worth talking about right now? If not, then we'll let you go and we'll hopefully bring you on soon. I know our chat absolutely loves having you on, and I love having you on because it kind of opens up this whole conversation.
Well, one final point I'll make, and not passing judgment one way or the other, but Natalie had a pro bono attorney in California working for her. She didn't have to pay legal fees. He volunteered his time to represent her. And I just learned today that the same is true for her Minnesota counsel. Natalie is not having to pay legal fees for her lawyers in Minnesota either. And so as long as there are lawyers out there that are willing to do this for free, or as long as there are people out there that are willing to contribute enough to a legal fund for Natalie to allow her to hire lawyers to bring these types of cases, I think it's entirely possible we will see this pattern continue.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. No, I definitely think that that's the case, especially we still do have 2 more majors here in the US, 1 major being overseas, with a pretty large amount of, Elite Series and Silver Series left on the schedule right now. Yeah, thank you, Chris, as always. Thank you for coming on, explaining, everything new that's happening in 2023. This has just been an insane year when it comes to lawsuits, and you're definitely the most interesting guy that we could have brought on and have so much knowledge of all this that it's great. And like Evan said earlier, you get to explain it like we're 5-year-olds, because I think in the world of lawyers, none of us are, past a premature age. So, this is incredible being able to kind of get a little bit more insight on it. Yeah, definitely wild things. Gannonburr lawsuit. We got the McCease LLC lawsuit. We got the Natalie Ryan lawsuits going on. Chris, we will definitely bring you back on if anything more is to come about. And I do quickly want to shout out your YouTube channel, which is discgolf.law. Go check it out. Chris actually does have a full-on video talking about the McCease LLC situation. Please, if we miss anything with that tonight, go check it out. Go sub to his channel. We love Chris. We appreciate all the time that he does, coming on our show.
Man, thanks a lot for the kind words. It's always a pleasure to come on, and happy to come back anytime.
Sounds good. Chris, thank you so much. You have a wonderful night.
All right, you too.
See you later.
Man, dude, disc golf. When you guys first started getting into disc golf, did you think we're just going to have to be dealing with freaking lawsuits? Matt and I have been doing this podcast now for over 3 years now, with you guys joining in along the way, and we have never, ever had to deal with any of this stuff. And now all of a sudden it seems like weekly we are talking about new stuff going on, and it's just, damn, it's wild.
You guys had an episode just if there should be pay-to-play courses.
Dude, I know, right? And people freaked out on us when I said I'd pay $100 to go play OG Yarva.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different conversation. I wouldn't pay. I was going to make some lawyer joke. I don't really know. I don't joke with lawyers. We don't joke with lawyers. No, so I wasn't trying to make a joke during the interview either.
No, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, I was trying to make a joke there, but then stop myself, because they help us out when you hopefully don't when you don't want to need them, but then they will help you out when you do.
Yeah. Hey, we got a few minutes before we got Gannon on, right, Ben?
Hopefully.
All right, you haven't heard back from him yet? All right, you got to call him. Mute yourself and call him.
Should I call him?
Yeah, I mean, go for it. Don't put him on air right now, though. But yeah, if you can,
send him a voice message that's just Gannonburr.
Anyway, so really quick, I'll just completely get off topic with this really quick. And it's actually kind of on topic, because we were talking about when I would say I'd pay $100 to play the OG Yarva. And because I 100% would, if I traveled over there and that was my one time to play the original layout, the kind of what you watch in the 2014, 2016 European Masters, it looks amazing. I would absolutely love to play it. Anyways, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how much it costs. It must have been last week. No, 2 weeks ago, talking about how much it would cost to go and watch DDO. People were saying, $40, $50, whatever, to go for the weekend and watch the event, or maybe per day. I don't remember exactly what it is. And I had said, I was like, you know what, for a special event, I would spend the money, obviously, if I have it, spend the money on, what I believe to be something that would be good for me. And me growing up, I'm a I'm a very avid piano player. I like to play all the time. I enjoy playing it. It's one of my favorite things. And so I grew up listening to a lot of piano players. One of my most favorite ones being Billy Joel. And I think Billy Joel is actually on his last year of touring, potentially ever. And so jokingly around today, I was with, my family up here in Massachusetts, and I was like, oh, how much I'd love to go see Billy Joel play. So I looked up the tickets, and I think for like top of Gillette Stadium, like way up in the rafters, it was like $479. And it's actually when I'll be back in Massachusetts in September. So not gonna lie, I am
gotta put your money where your mouth is.
I think it's potentially like Billy Joel is one of my all-time favorites. I've got an incredible Billy Joel book that has all of his piano songs, really, really good ones in it. And I honestly, if I have the money to just kind of openly spend, because $500 is a lot, but at the same time, that's something, and I know, believe me, I know Billy Joel's not like he was back in the 70s and 80s. I understand that every single song is key change down 4 or 5 steps because he just can't sing as well as he used to before. But at the same time, man, it's Billy Joel to me. That's like one of my idols. I think I would happily, if I have the money, happily spend $480 to go watch him. And I know people are probably gonna like freak out, but
is that more than T Swift at Gillette prices? Ben, how much did you pay?
No, Ben's on the phone right now, but he's trying to figure out with Gannon Burr stuff.
Yeah, get Gannon on. Oh man. Well, our homie over here, Ben, went to the concert and somehow got in, and I don't know how much he paid.
I don't know. I'll say this: my sister dropped a fat amount of money on like third row seats to Taylor Swift. Like she was way up there watching Taylor Swift. But I will say this: I'm not much of a T Swifty person, Taylor Swift. But everyone is saying that her concert was actually badass. I mean, 3 hours of listening to her music. Now, I don't think I would be able to do that because I don't even know 3 hours of Taylor Swift music. But could I sit there and listen to every single Billy Joel song that he did? Absolutely. I think that would be amazing rather than just, how some bands come on for an hour and a half. If you go to like the Palladium or something like that, they have a time limit at 11 o'clock. You got to be done. Anyways, so enough about that.
I'm not gonna,
Ben, go ahead.
What's up?
Oh, unless Ben has an announcement.
Ben, what do you got?
Make.
You got an update?
Gannon Burr might come on. I sure as hell hope our title does not say Gannon Burr's on tonight, because if it does, it does. Hey, we can change it though. That's all.
Change that. Gannon Burr might come on. Yeah.
Mike, no, he'll let me know.
Okay.
He's busy. I heard changes in the background. Man's trying to win the preserve.
Yeah, man's trying to win the preserve. Go back to back events. Anyways, one of the things that we didn't really talk about with Des Moines, and this is, I think, a great subject to talk about, because this is actually something that I personally experienced as well in the sport of disc golf. But they had, and I don't know exactly how to put this, but I guess I'll put it the best way I can, which was equal payouts for first place in the MPO. Is this first place, second place, third place, like they were all the same? Or is it just the winner got 12.5 grand?
So they did normal payouts for both divisions as they would based on normal structures. And then all they did was bump up FPO winner to be the same as the MPO winner.
Okay.
So only one spot in FPO changed.
What was the difference? What was the difference between first place and second place for FPO? Any idea? I can look it up.
I don't know payout structures as well as I should, considering how often I look at them. Yeah, but I believe it was estimated probably to be around like 6,000. Maybe it hit 7,000. Okay. I'll put it to you this way: excluding the Tour Championship being, the finale event, higher payday. Not to take away from the accolades of that event, but for just standard stroke play events, this is the highest FPO payout ever. More than any major. Kristen Tatar won Worlds last year, and I think it was 10,500, 11,000 something. I actually don't even have the numbers in front of me because cash came out a little late, so I didn't see it. I'm sure I could pull it up. Yes, I have it right here. 12,250 to Kristen Tatar. I don't have a profile pulled up, but Worlds was around 11,000, high 10,000s last year. So she surpasses her record ever for a standard stroke play event, which is insane and really insanely good. And really cool to hear that that's the highest ever from a 3-day elite event that it was even 2 days for MPO.
Yeah.
So I think it's crazy cool to see. I think I have so many good words about the Des Moines Challenge. I had my hot take that I think it's a better course to watch than Crocal. We can get to that later. I think the crew here has done a phenomenal job. Even being on a public park, it doesn't feel like a public park.
Yeah,
when this event came on tour in 2021, it was because the European Open was canceled. They ended up not doing the European swing for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And this event kind of came up in its place to have a US based event kind of on the schedule. I would look when it came on, I'm like, hey, cool, Des Moines, that's not a bad place. We'll have this event on for a year. Maybe it'll come back for a silver next year and hang around on that level. But I just didn't see it with a crowded Midwest schedule. It's sticking around when we have so many good Midwest events.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been more wrong. I think this event has elevated to maybe be the second most premier Midwest event. I don't think it's past Ledgestone. I mean, you can argue like the course better or you argue not, but it, as good of the payout is, the total payout isn't as much as what Ledgestone gets. It isn't what Ledgestone is as a whole. I mean, that's going to be Elite Plus event this year.
Yeah.
So I still think that's the number one Midwest event, but this one I think is firmly number two, and that's with a lot like D-Glow. I mean, people have their thoughts about DDO, but that's a very long-standing elite event. We have other awesome courses like the Preserve, Idlewild. Jonesboro can maybe be Midwest or South. I don't really know. They can tell me what that is. But there's a lot of great courses, and I think this is number two.
Yeah, no, definitely. So just quickly looking at the numbers, it was $12,250 for first place in the FPO division, and then $4,500 for second place in the FPO division. So we're looking at what, $7,750 difference between
That's
first place and second place. That's a lot of freaking money.
That's got to be. I'm gonna go on the limb right now. I'm not even gonna look it up, but I'm gonna say that's the largest gap from a standard event ever.
Gotta be the largest between first place and second place. Yeah,
Pro Tour Championship's gonna have more. I think it was from
35 to 25 or 35 to 20.
30, yeah, something like that.
30, yeah, I would say the DGPT finale probably does have the largest kind of discrepancy in between the two.
But from a standard stroke play,
standard stroke play. This just has to be. I know.
And this also came from the event sponsor, by the way. So TrueBank, it's the TrueBank Des Moines Challenge. They're the ones that asked for this. They said that to re-up, to want to do this again for a bigger payout or whatever it was, they said we want to have equal payouts. There's a lot of takes on this, and I'm sure, there's, positive and negative. I don't want to say negative, but more of, there's the equity and equal and all these kind of different words to what is fair and who is it fair for. You've seen the talks. Drew Gibson posted on Twitter about the percentage of the field payout. All I want to say here is I don't want to get into a heated topic about it. I think we're all excited about it. But when you think about the Disc Golf Pro Tour, not your B tier in your local town or your big A tier in your region, when you think about the Disc Golf Pro Tour, it's all is pooled into one. The fields don't matter. They can have a 40-person field, and the product, I'm going to say it will be the same. It will be the same if both fields are only 40 people. MPO can be 40. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be 120. They'll still have the same field. They'll still have the live broadcast running for both MPO and FPO. They'll have all the ads running for both broadcasts. Both broadcasts are the same. They have the same production costs. They have the same advertisement costs. It's all looped in together. When you go to put ads on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, it's for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It's not for, just the men. It's not just for the women. It's for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It's not just for the lead card. It's for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So I think that's a really easy counterpoint to make to explain why I think this process makes a lot of sense. I've heard that other sports, I think tennis notably for majors, they pay out the same. It doesn't matter. And so this is a topic that comes into a lot of other sports, and there's plenty of different ways to cut it. I mean, you go to NBA and WNBA, that's not really the same structure because the ads are completely different. You have the YouTube TV NBA playoffs. It's not the YouTube TV NBA playoffs and WNBA playoffs. The ads are separate, so it's a little bit tougher to get into that conversation. But I think purely for Disc Golf Pro Tour, I think it makes a lot of sense. And at the minimum, it's really good PR that can get disc golf a little bit more on the map. And that's what we all want.
I mean, I think it's kind of like a 50-50 PR thing, because you have the people that say, hey, I love the idea, versus, hey, to the people that don't love the idea. And I think you can also look, I like, just with anything, you can look at it as there's going to be some people that say, yeah, I think that's an incredible idea, versus, no, I don't think that's a incredible idea. I think one of the things, as I'm kind of briefly reading through chat a little bit right now, is, and you were just mentioning it earlier, is TrueBank putting up that money specifically for that reason. Now, I would be dumb to say, no, that's a horrible idea, we shouldn't do that. Like, yeah, if TrueBank wants to kind of pony up that money for it on the MPO side and the FPO side, hallelujah, dude. Watching players be able to make $12,500 or, $12.25 grand just from playing disc golf for the weekend is pretty friggin' awesome. I know a lot of the kind of counter arguments is let's say Truebank didn't put up that money and, you know, it wasn't specifically for the FPO in that case, then people are going to say, all right, well, the MPO winner beat 119 players while the FPO winner only beat 45 players. And then, like you were talking about just a little bit ago, is we do have shared streams right now. If disc golf ever blows up to a point where you have the, you know, DGPT for the MPO and then you have the DGPT for the FPO, I think you are going to see different numbers. I think, and like we see it with, I would say a majority of sports out there in the MPO or the male aspect of the sport, there are more viewership to it. Now, I'm not saying that female sports are bad whatsoever, but the viewership and the ads, like you were talking about early, are a little bit more pushed on the male side of things. Now, right now, we do have shared streams, and I love that because I get to be, I'm able to spend all day watching disc golf, which is incredible. And if those things are to ever change, then yeah, maybe the payout structure changes as well with it. It all depends on what that tour is kind of bringing in for numbers. But yeah, for a company to go out of their way, we saw this actually at a tournament down in Texas, and I don't remember the exact one, but I do remember
it was in Austin. I forget the name. It was Tito's Vodka was the one that did it.
Was it a tequila company, right? And I don't know all tequila off the top of my head, but they had put down, maybe it was Tito's Vodka. Anyways, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. I did say that like 20 seconds ago.
I totally went over you on that then.
Talking over you, so I'm not mad. It's okay.
No, we're both talking over each other. But anyways, you said Tito's. Was it Tito's?
Yes.
Okay, so they had put up an extra 10 grand for specifically the FPO division. So I mean, we see it in the sport.
Yeah, and I think it's certainly a possibility that the long term that the tour split up, and you could have the MDGPT and the FDGPT or the WDGPT. People, I mean, you hear that claim a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I would not be surprised if it's forever just the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and you have a mixed or men's winner and a women's winner. I seriously think that's a viable solution. You see some other sports, as far as trying to push equality, moving towards that. I mean, I think soccer has been a notable one. I mean, the U.S. women's national team has been pushing for that, but you see other federations. I think Denmark is notably one where they were like, yep, all advertising money is just pooled and it goes equally between our teams. You see that kind of moving slowly in different spaces. And it's really easy to grow your brand as a whole and have double the product than half the product. If the Disc Golf Pro Tour is going to advertisers, sure, you're asking for double the money, but you're asking for double the ad space. You're saying, hey, people are going to watch FPO and MPO. You're more people, or more often people are seeing your ad placement. That sounds great. For already a low niche population of people. I mean, even with disc golf blowing up, it's still very small. Having more ads, I think, is certainly better. And when we're asking for these big companies, they want to see more and more numbers. So if the Disc Golf Pro Tour can also say, hey, we have 4 broadcasts a day, and I'm counting Europe in this because they've been doing it for 2 or 3 weeks now, and they're going to do it for 4 or 5 or 6 more. MPO, FPO for both, that's 4 broadcasts a day for at least 3 days in a weekend. So my quick math tells me that's 12, at least 12. And if you're averaging a number, times that by 12. And that's awesome. Instead of if you just had a men's tour and you only have 3 or 4 broadcasts, they could be longer, but I think it sells better. And I think as the world's kind of moving towards pushing for equality, I mean, it's an incredibly good product. We enjoy it. I mean, how much fun is Kristen Tatar to watch? How much fun is the challenger she has to it? I think everything's good about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it sticks this way. But it certainly could go otherwise. I'm not speaking definitely either way.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we're slowly seeing the sport grow and grow and grow. And we're seeing the amount of people able to play on the Pro Tour grow and grow and grow. Quick numbers gave me 120 people in the MPO division and 46 people in the FPO division. Now, let's say we want to get to a point, though, where there is 120 MPO and 120 FPO. This is where the tour does not have to split into 2, but they have to find states that do have 2 courses within each other. And let's say now all these events are, at the Des Moines Challenge, you have people, I think it's called Pickard Park. You have, let's say, the MPO playing Pickard, and then you have the FPO playing somewhere else. Now, they're playing the same exact weekend. People are still able to travel together with each other. But I think for the FPO to grow a little bit more in that sense, though, opening up more spots in the FPO field, which maybe there are, I'm not 100% sure, but I think eventually our sport will have to go to, we can't fit 240 people on every single course. There's not enough tee times in a day to be able to fit that. And one of the things that we literally just dealt with was weather issues, to where none of the MPO cards got to play round 2. Well, some of them got to at least start it, but no one was able to finish round 2. And then so the FPO played 2 rounds on the final day, while the MPO just went to a 2-round tournament in general. They played 1 round Friday and they played 1 round on Sunday. So I think this is something, as the sport continues to grow, is opening up courses. And I'm just going to use, we're going to Vermont for the World Championships. Half the people playing Brewster Ridge first day, half the people playing Fox Run the first day. And then after 3 rounds, you have a cut. Boom. Now they can play that final round on a specific course. You'd have to, I mean, obviously you'd have to figure out the numbers, exactly how it works, to make sure everyone's playing a specific course. But I think that is something that will kind of need to be taken into account over the next few years.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think courses will be something that you just have to have more to fit more field. There is also the possibility that the tour cuts off the elite events at a certain number, so that way they can fit both divisions and fit what would that be, like 160-ish players max. And then if you're not good enough to make that field, which will be incredibly competitive, play a silver event, play a different qualifying event, or, I mean, everyone mentions, possibly having a Corn Ferry Tour level, a kind of second division of disc golf. I think there's a lot of different possibilities that we'll see, but I really could see that. I think that's more likely.
I mean, realistically, give me a take on it. If the DGPT started up a Corn Ferry Tour, let's call it the Evan Kearns Tour, and it's all the best, MPO players and FPO players who don't have what it takes right now to make it up on the DGPT, would you watch that? Like, would you watch the more everyday? Okay. It's like I would say it's like watching the G League or AAA baseball. How often I like to watch it in person, but I'm not going online and looking up, the NBA G League to go watch, someone who just got dropped from the Celtics to go play on the main Celtics. Or, I go to Woo Sox games when I'm in town because it's just a fun thing to do in person, but I'm not going online looking up, hey, can I even watch these online?
I'll be honest, I do watch lower division soccer, so they're like USL
I would say,
Championship.
If there's a specific
fun to watch. Yeah, and it's incredibly cool. It's a little bit different there
because you have a minority stake in the team. That's why.
I would love to do that. I actually don't. I really should buy a minority stake in a soccer team, like the ones that do like $20 shares, kind of Green Bay Packer style. It's a little bit more popular in soccer. I would love to do that. I really should.
What
I can't believe
Green
I'm
Bay
not.
Packer style?
It's technically a fan-owned team. I mean, you have it's like a public company, publicly. It's not actually, I don't think, but it's essentially that ideal where you buy stocks in a team, and so you own some, and so it's a little bit more popular in soccer. Yeah, so you own, one share, and you own, 0.100 zeros and then 1% of Microsoft. So you get some vote, and Bill Gates has like 100 million shares, and in soccer that's a little bit more popular. I mean, there's notable teams. I mean, in the U.S., there's, I believe, Detroit City isn't. It's Chattanooga FC, I think, is one of the bigger fan-owned ones. In Germany, you have a 50+1 rule, which means you kind of have to have over half the team owned by the fans, I believe is the technical way of saying that. I forget exactly how it works, but it's really cool. And it makes a team more of a part of a community. Instead of, you think we're the Oakland A's, you have some owner who's just being incredibly cheap and having the cheapest payroll in baseball, and then wants to move them to Las Vegas just to get a free stadium. You don't have uprooting a team just to move them. If the fans owned it, why would the fans ever agree to move the team? It's not going to happen. So there's cool things like that. That kind of got away from your question, Nick, which is, would you watch Corn Ferry level tour?
Would you watch the Evan Kearns Tour
of disc golf? I'm going to call it the Statmando Tour. We'll
okay, all right. I like that. We'll call it the Statmando Tour. Yeah.
So that'd be really cool. Where disc golf is right now, think about how rabid the fan base is of our niche fans. You meet so many people who are watching as much live coverage as they can, but they'll still go back and watch all the Jomez. They'll watch, FPO, MPO. They'll watch Gatekeeper. They'll watch H-Run Pro. They're not just watching the lead card live and then they're done. They're taking in all these things. They're listening to podcasts right now. They probably listen to more than just our podcast. They're listening to all these other shows, and they're thinking about disc golf all the time. And when you're at a niche level and you aren't kind of fully big, you're going to have fans who want to do that. So if you did pull people, I think you would get a lot of people who would want to watch that. Now, when you get to a exploding fandom and you have hundreds of millions of fans and you get NBA or NFL fans, if you ask them would they want to watch a second division, the answer is probably no. People don't really watch the G League. The NFL doesn't have a second league, but there's been other offshoots like the AAF, the XFL, there's a CFL in Canada. Yeah. They get solid viewerships. I mean, disc golf would love the numbers they get, but it's really tough to have them. Besides the CFL, the other ones really struggle to stay in business year to year.
Yeah.
So I think it would. It's tough because I don't think the money is there from the Disc Golf Pro Tour as someone to pay for cameras for a tour of that level. But I do think viewership would be semi-decent. So it'd just be how much money goes into the product. I mean, the Disc Golf Pro Tour is already on like a pretty small budget as far as sports goes. So maybe it's worth keeping on. But I think it'd be really cool more long-term. The Disc Golf Network has the Statmando Tour on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Final day is Wednesday, 3-round tournaments. And then you go in and either have a 4-day tournament starting on Thursday, or you have the press conference for a 3-day tournament starting on Friday. And then you have Disc Golf Network every single day. Mm-hmm. Just having people have a reason to watch Disc Golf Network every single day seems smart to me. So if the money is there to subsidize that tour and you get enough players who want to do this and have this pass, I don't think we're there yet player wise. I think we need more players and even a deeper field. But the way MPO is going this year, I think we're not that far away. But I do think it's possible. And I think people would care enough and talk about it. And if you win the Statmando Tour event, it's like a whole big deal. And if you earn a tour card for the next year, maybe not that high, but if you earn, a 3 event card or something and hop up, it's a really big deal to win this. It'll be a lot of narratives that are really cool from it that people will talk about.
Yeah, no, definitely. I quickly want to cut off what we're talking about. Matt Graham did put in his picks. Matt Graham says Calvin Heiberg and Holland Hanley. Will Holland Hanley get her first win at the year? If there is a course that could set up for her, I think it is this one at the Preserve Championships.
Yeah, Matt's not dumb for picking her here.
I actually think those are 2 incredible picks. We haven't seen Calvin with this event, right?
I don't think so, no.
Who won it last year? Bradley Williams?
No, so
B. Williams.
Bradley
and
Williams,
Kristen Tatar?
then Ricky Wysocki before that.
And then Nico?
I'm just going MPO. And then Nico won before that. And then Kristen won last year. Paige won last year. Kristen won in 2021. And then Paige won in 2020.
Okay.
Paige is a 2-time winner here. I do know that.
Gotcha.
And Tatar won in 2021.
Well, while we're talking about it, we might as well, let's make some picks.
Yeah, I wanted to drop a cool stat real quick.
Let's hear it.
Des Moines Challenge was the first event on tour that Kristen Tatar won for her second time, the same event. It was her 18th win from Majors Elite and Silvers, and it was the first time that she had a duplicate win. Obviously, different years. That goes without saying. I don't know why I even said that, but the same event, which is really cool and really surprising. And it tells her that she's going to dominate at different times. She hasn't played all the events. She's not even tried to defend her events. I mean, Preserve last year, remember, she was going through, it was either the shoulder injury or the COVID.
That's right.
It wouldn't have been last year for COVID, I don't think.
No.
Who knows?
No.
But she wasn't able to defend it, but she's now here not defend her title, but
try to get it
potentially
back.
Repeat as well.
Yeah.
So she could go back-to-back weekends.
I'm curious, and I don't know how quickly it would be to look it up, but I'm curious how many events at this point, besides for first-year events, like let's talk about events that we've had on the Pro Tour for 3 or 4 years now at this point. I'm curious how many events left that she hasn't won. She hasn't won MVP. I don't think she's won at Smugs yet. Right?
No, she won last year at Smugs.
Did she win last year at Smugs? Why did I think Haley King for some reason?
Yep.
Okay.
Haley King had a good year, but actually she won it and then had a really good year the year after. I forget exactly what.
Okay. Anyways, there's obviously a couple events that she hasn't won yet. Do you have them?
I'm just casually sorting and trying to go through it. Mm-hmm. So she didn't win Delaware from the 2 times she tried to play it. Okay. Finished second both times. That's for all likelihood not going to happen again. Mm-hmm. She played Ledgestone last year and didn't win. She played Texas State's she played it. It has a different name, but she didn't win it this. Okay, I'm sorting by name. Yeah, but it's not perfect.
And it's also tough. Texas State's has moved around a decent amount, so not playing the same
so she
courses.
didn't win in 2022. and then didn't win it this year in 2023. I'm trying to jump around more. She's won D-Glow. She definitely won GMC, but the one I'm seeing here has her not winning it. How is this order? Oh, because it was a playoff last year. That's why. Oh, this is fun to try to organize this. I don't think she's ever won Las Vegas. She's only played it once, though.
Okay.
She's played MVP twice, has finished second twice. Has won Jonesboro, won Waco. Didn't win Austin, but that was the first time she played it.
Yep.
Is 2 for 2 at Des Moines. She did come in second at Waco last year, but she did win it this year. Music City she won, Portland Open she won, GMC she won, Innova Blue Ridge she won, Zootown she won, Pro Tour Championship she's won. So European Open, she's only played it twice, and it was back in 2017 and 2019. Finished 5th and 6th.
Okay.
Konopishte, when it was a major in 2018, she finished 4th.
Okay. Such a badass.
And that's it. She's won U.S. Women. She's won Worlds.
Yeah.
So
she's still got a few.
Great. And we just saw.
Yeah, she's still got a few to go, but man, she's coming up close on pretty much winning everything.
Yeah, and that's just one she's played that I'm going through.
Yeah.
Of course, she could have just never have played a recurring Disc Golf Pro Tour event. I think actually Idlewild. Did I never mention?
Yeah, I
Idlewild
think we mentioned Idlewild.
Wow, she has never played Idlewild. That's a cool. I'll have to remember that before we get.
Well, that's
that
usually right, kind of before the European swing. So a lot of players will play that event and then ship out, or that's either right after the European swing. So I feel like it's in, because usually Idlewild's middle of July, correct?
Yeah, I mean, since Kristen Starr's dominance, we've only really had one European swing so far, which was last year.
Well, we've had we've had European Open almost every single year for a while now. So I mean, just that in and of itself, that's usually always falling right before.
A gap from 2019 to 2022, and she only had won one event in 2019. That's kind of my point to say.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Cool. Well, I mean, Des Moines picks. Let's talk about them. Ben, any update on Gannon? Anything?
No update.
Gannon Burr, Bueller.
Gannon Burr.
All right, no update on Gannon right now.
It's
folks,
not looking promising, but we'll see.
I'm not saying a cool but kind of basic Gannon Burr stat until he comes on. So like he doesn't get to hear it if he doesn't come on.
Yeah, that'll entice him.
Exactly. I mean,
now he's coming on.
Yeah, he better. I mean, shoot. Does he have a link and everything? We've already got
I mean, he's listening and just waiting for a reason to come on.
Yeah, no kidding. We'll give you $5 extra, Gannon. All right, let's talk while we're potentially still waiting on Gannon Burr. Let's talk Des Moines picks. Excuse me.
Like our past ones?
Reserve.
I also predicted Gannon to win Des Moines, so we can't.
Who'd you predict for FPO though?
Cam Merch, I think.
You know what's kind of funny is we were talking about it. We were talking about it in our group chat, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't even remember who I picked," and everyone was just like, "Dude, you literally picked Gannon Burr."
No, Chris.
Chris Dickerson. Yeah, Chris. Yeah. I picked. Excuse me.
No, it was you. It was you because
I picked Chris because Matt was talking about how he's going to shave the beard, and I was like, I don't even remember why we made that bet. And then Evan's like, "Dude, you picked him," and I was just like, "Oh shoot, okay, okay."
Nick, you're not totally blonde, but that was a blonde moment,
dude. I'm getting old.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Preserve. I mean, okay. Well, one, Preserve is one of my favorite. Like, it's probably my favorite. Like, just mega birdie course, and maybe they're tuning it to be harder and harder each year, but it still feels like it's just that shreddable course that's fun to watch. The all black. I saw one picture.
Yeah.
Is it all of them?
Yeah.
Let's go. That looks snazzy. I like that.
Preserve black going on this weekend.
Hey, if you talk about like who has the most swag on tour or like historically, I mean, it's Kale. Like, right? Like, there's no
1,000%.
contest.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally no one. Like, I don't even know who number 2 is. It's just Kale's number 1.
Yeah.
And then we'll think about like 5th place next.
Yeah, exactly. No, Kale's the man. Yeah. Kale is doing incredible things with that property.
Yeah.
Most of the big names are there, though. I think realistically, the only one who's not is Paul Macbeth.
Eagle McMahon is technically signed up.
Okay.
Yeah, he is registered as of now. But yeah, like you said, I mean, Ricky's coming back, Heimberg, Gannon Burr. We got all the names. I mean, Paul Macbeth's not there. I mean, you could say Bradley Williams is a big name since he won it last year. He won't be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. On FPO's side, I mean, Krishna Tatar's there. And for due diligence, I won't end the conversation there. She hasn't won everything this year, just more than half.
Yeah.
But Missy Gannon, Paige Pierce, Haley King, Holland Hanley, Katrina Allen, Val Manduhano, who had a great finish last week.
Yeah. Second event
from injury.
Yep.
DDO was, I think, a little I'll say maybe good for her coming back first event.
Yeah.
And then last week at Des Moines was what, a top 6, tied for 6th.
Decent.
Yeah. Not that you say top 6. But.
Yeah, not too shabby at all, though. We can say top 6 on this show. We can do what we want, Evan. On
I can
this
say
show.
whatever I want.
Yeah, you can say top 92. And
that sure is right.
Exactly.
And we can have, 80% of your disc golf pro tour starts in that.
No, probably not even. Maybe like 20%, dude. I'm like 100th place, man. Talk about
top 92.
Talk about top 138. I'm 100%, baby boy. I got those.
You're getting your tour card next year?
Absolutely not, dude. I've got other plans going on right now in life that are coming into fruition.
Oh, we know.
I'm not able to.
We know the
enunciate them yet, but some really, really cool stuff going on behind the scenes. I want to shout out really quick. Actually, Matt is in Illinois right now. This before because it just came up on my mind. But my apparel company, DiscuraDG.com, has come out with some absolute fire stuff lately. Absolute fire stuff. Now, if you try to go on the website right now, I think we actually have it as it's under maintenance. We're doing vending out in Illinois for the AM Worlds. So we brought majority of our stuff out there because wanted to get it out to the public. But I've still got some discs up on the website, DiscuraDG.com. If anyone wants to buy some sweet Discraft plastic for not a major price of it, check it out. DiscuraDG.com. It's got a cool stamp on it. So also some really cool
stamp.
What's that?
You still got plenty of night stamp discs left?
Yeah. Heck yeah, babe.
Nice.
Yep. Oh yeah.
All right, I got some.
Yeah,
I got some stats with you.
All right, give me some stats. Oh no, not about me. Let's talk about the stats about me afterwards. I want to do. Right. I want to do preserve picks. Man, I don't need to embarrass myself like that.
I'll pick. I'll go.
Look, my coolest thing. I got top 43 at Worlds one year.
At Smugs. Oh, I just played Smugs. I did top 9.
Nice
in MA1.
Nice.
Anyways,
let's go. That's awesome, Ben. Don't talk bad about that. First year of MA1, that's awesome. I know expectations can always be higher, but that's golf. You did good.
Here, I'll give Ben a little stat. Ready? My first year at Brewster Ridge Open 2016, AM1, I won it.
I'm so far behind.
It was a dude.
And you're so far behind Nick Carl.
So back then it was
I'm done ripping on Nick for the night. That's the last one.
Back then it was only a 1-day event, and the first round was 18 holes, and the second round was 27 holes. You did 18 at Brewster, and then you did 9 at Fox because that's before we had like the full Fox run wasn't, I don't think, officially fully open back then, or certain times they didn't want to fully do it. And a couple of the holes are different. Like 16 was not nearly as hard as it is now. Like I used to be able to birdie 16
on tour.
Yeah, I used to be able to birdie 16 because you would play 14,
7, 16.
You would play 14 or 15, whatever it was back then. You would play the big hyzer up to the basket in the middle of the trees, right after the telephone pole hole. And then instead of walking to left to the forehand hole in the woods, which is now 15, you would actually walk straight and go up the hill a little bit, and you would play a big Annie and then a hyzer to the basket. So the hole was much shorter. You could argue more OB, but definitely way easier to par, easier to birdie. Anyways.
And to continue being off topic, obviously Worlds is going to be there later this year. I heard last year when they were talking about it during GMC time, they said that they're planning some upgrades for Worlds and some course design upgrades. I think mainly on Brewster. I didn't know if any of us knew anything about that. And by any of us, I mean you two, because I don't know anything.
Say it again.
Were there any changes on Brewster Ridge?
Okay, yeah. So I did hear there's changes happening, and there are going to be changes. I heard they wanted. I heard so many things, but I heard they wanted to move hole 18 back. They're going to move hole
on Brewster.
This is all Brewster. Yeah, I don't know any. Okay. I don't think any Fox changes. Hole 11, they're going to bring back. That's a Mateo par 4 hole. Mateo Eagle, I should say.
Yeah, that's a great hole.
They're going to bring the tee pad back.
Hondo throw in.
Yeah. And then I think what's the one like where the right behind that tee pad? Hole 9?
12?
No, but on 11, maybe it's hole 8.
8 is the uphill par 4.
Yeah. Where it's like 8's tee pad, then 11's tee pad. I guess they're gonna move 8's tee pad to the right more so they can push 11's tee pad back, and they're gonna make it a par 5. That's what I heard. The people could have just been lying to me, but I heard it from multiple people and some locals. So
you know what they say about disc golf rumors. The first thing you hear is always the true one.
Yeah. So, but I guess
game of telephone.
They I don't know about 18 completely, but I think hole 8 and 11 are actually being moved. 18, I heard something like someone wanted to remove the bush, but they didn't want to remove the bush there, so they're gonna keep it. I don't really know.
Okay, I get wanting to keep the bush, but is Holy Teen is the basket technically blind from the tee pad? I forget.
No, I think if you technically move like a foot off to the right, I'm pretty sure you can see it, or you can see the flag. If I'm not mistaken, they have flags.
I parked that hole both days.
I'm gonna say this,
and I'm a ham.
Hole 1 at Brewster is okay. Hole 18 is just overwhelmingly meh.
Hole 18 is a bad hole 18. It's a good hole. It's a boring 18. Like I don't mind it as a hole. I will say this: it's actually further than you think. And now that bush has grown so much, it actually does force you to throw a better shot than what we used to have to. I know some people bigger arms can throw buzzes there, but like I'm a fairway driver on that hole.
For me as an am, I feel like that hole and hole 1 are like the perfect amount of protected. Like the hole 1 being protected by like the curve of the fairway, and then that one tree.
Yeah.
Hole 18, I feel like is the perfect amount of obstacles on the green. For pros, not nearly hard enough. That's essentially an open fairway and an open green because they're so good.
Easy.
Like I said, it's a boring par 3 Pro Tour standard wise, and I think it's a boring 18. Like I would never want to see that tournament finish on Brewster Ridge 18. Just
that's
because
why
of how
we finished on
immaculate.
Fox Run 18.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say one more thing. Besides hole 10 at Brewster, it's like so easy to get all the holes mixed up.
Yeah.
Like when you say Matty O hole, I do remember that. Mm-hmm. And there's a few others that come to memory besides 1 and 18. But it is hard. Where if you talk about Fox Run, it's really easy to memorize.
Fox Run could do some changes. I've said this a billion times before. Fox Run's my all-time favorite course that I've ever played. I just love everything about it. Now I do understand that it is a softer course that's on tour. Hole 2 could maybe change a little bit. Hole 6 could definitely change. Hole 6 is literally just a filler hole. But you have 2 holes.
I played that course twice. Birdied hole 6 both times. Yeah. And let me tell you, if I birdie a hole twice and it's for the pros, it's too dang easy.
Like I love hole 5 just because it is so easy to throw OB on that hole. I think it's great. And then hole 7,
a great hole.
I like it. I don't love they changed this year where they made it kind of, or I should say last year, where your last shot getting into the green is now more of a hyzer to the left. I love that dead straight just because.
But you can go over the OB to reach it. I think it's sick.
Yeah,
because it's like it's like the risk reward is there.
Yeah. I mean, people were still taking massive numbers. Put any rain or wind, and that hole is very difficult to birdie, let alone even par it at that point.
Pouring when I played Fox Run.
Hole 8. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole course right now, but anywho. Hopefully people
we can swing it back to picks.
Let's swing it back.
Yeah,
to
we've been trying to get these picks in for like 30 minutes.
I was trying to delay it to hope that Gannon Burr was just randomly going to jump on.
We only have 2 full months until Worlds, just about. That's not true, is it? Is that really true? All of July, all of August, and then it's like the first weekend in September, right?
For what?
For Worlds in Vermont?
Last weekend of August. Away? Yeah.
That's insane. That's so close.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm more of, I can't believe it.
Eagle McMahon, Kristen Tatar. Those are my picks. I think if Eagle plays, if Eagle does not play, it's tough because I kind of want to say Gannon Burr, but I don't think we're going to have back-to-back winners of Gannon Burr and Kristen Tatar.
No.
And
Gannon Burr
like my choices.
Has never had back-to-back pro wins in the same season in his career.
All right.
Any tier.
I'm not going to lie. This might make him not come on the show, but I don't think this is the weekend that he's going to change that stat.
That wasn't my cool Gannon Burr stat, which isn't that cool, but to incentivize him to come on, that was a...
Is Kyle Klein back yet?
Why didn't you come on? He is back, and I believe his injury is doing better. I don't 100% know, but it's really hard to follow pro injuries right now.
This could be a Kyle Klein kind of place. Ricky picking up a big win.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I'm tempted to go Ricky, but I went Ricky 2 weeks in a row, and obviously it's so hard to pick MPO winners that I'm not going to go 3 weeks in a row. Not that he didn't disappoint, but of course he didn't win.
All right.
So
my actual picks
going off of him.
Yeah, Eagle McMahon, Kristen Tatar. If Eagle is not playing, Ricky Wysocki, Kristen Tatar. He signed up for it, so we'll see. He was out promoting his new discs today, so. We'll see if he puts him to work on the course.
He might be playing. I just thought he was hurt.
There's so many sneaky players here. Like I kind of want to pick AB.
I'm switching mine. I'm going AB. This is my AB and Kristen week if Eagle's not playing.
I kind of want to go Goose. Like Simon has done well here, and it fits him great. It's a thrower's course. He's a thrower. But I'm so close to pulling the trigger. I really want to go Cole Radalin.
I really do.
Dude,
that's like a bold
that'd be worth
pick.
a lot of points if you got that right.
That's a great pick.
The way with that MPO is right now, like where seemingly you just straight up cannot pick the winner. Let me think about this. This is tough because I don't like picking Ben picks, and this is a Ben pick for sure.
I pick Ben picks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it, but let me drop this cool stat.
I've been right like 3 times, maybe 4. So pick a Ben pick.
So Emerson Keith wins OTB Open. What does he do at the next elite event? Portland,
Mrs. Cash.
So same with Adam Hammis. Oh, I guess
Portland.
There you go.
Yeah, well, Portland Open, Mrs. Cash at DDO. He was dealing with an injury,
Cash.
but doesn't matter. Miss Cash. Parker Welk plays the Portland Open. What happens at Des Moines?
Mrs. Cash.
And Gannon Burr wins.
Parker missed Cash at Des Moines.
Yeah, he also missed Cash at Portland Open, which is the event before. And Gannon Burr missed Cash at the Dynamic Disc Open before winning.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Des Moines Challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Parker went miss Cash, win, miss Cash for elite events only. And then Gannon went miss Cash, win. We'll see what he does at the preserve. I'm going to guess he makes Cash, but wouldn't it be wild if he misses Cash?
Would be wild.
I mean, now that he's not joining the show, maybe I'm rooting for that.
Oh man,
that's a joke. That's a joke, of course.
He might be doing
the best for him.
Take.
We'll see.
Yeah. Nope. Okay. I'm going to go for it. Let's go Cole Radalin.
My man.
Let's
go.
My
turn.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know why Evan always has to give these big, elaborate picks where he has to go through every single crevice in his mind and talk about exactly what he's thinking in that moment. Anyways, I'm just gonna go Ben pick. I'm gonna go Ezra Aderhold and Ella Hansen. Like I'm picking her. Like she just needs to win. It's just in my gut. Yeah, Ezra Aderhold, Ella Hansen. If Ezra can keep it in the fairway, he's gonna win.
Yeah. Also, really quickly, I do want to shout out.
He does at this golf course.
Yeah, right. I want to shout out the Double G Craft Jerky guys. I didn't realize tonight is the night that they were doing the premiere of the Big Distance Showcase.
That's why Gannon couldn't come on for.
Yeah, so he was out there throwing bombs. I think they did a clinic. Anyways, Double G Craft Jerky, their team has been incredible to us, and we absolutely love their product. And Matt, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna take some of this with me, but. I do want to shout out them. They've been doing incredible things. They did the USDGC. I'm sure on Twitter on Instagram, you've seen a lot of the Albert Tom post with that 700-foot bomb that he had out there. So when this does release, check it out. They're awesome. They do an incredible job with the videos. So check out the Double G stuff when that's coming out. It'll probably be through the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but I know the Double G team behind it is doing just a hell of a lot for it. So
yeah, that video was sick for the USDGC one. Yeah, it wasn't called that, but that's how we're referring it to.
No, exactly.
I'm stoked for this one. They got they got every big thrower you could imagine, and if they got the racing drone out, they got
it's being recorded.
Excitement
right? For Jomez.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's for Jomez. I'm not.
I think I saw.
I'm like 90% sure it's for Jomez.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah,
definitely a must watch once it comes out.
I'll really quick. I'm just gonna call him out, Daniel. Hot take on that one. Luke Humphreys and Conan Montgomery. We'll see.
That's a Ben pick, Daniel. That's a Ben pick.
Yeah, that's a big one. So
that is not a Ben pick. I did pick Conan a lot last year, but
a Ben pick isn't a bad pick. It's just a bold pick of someone who
I think I've
hasn't
predicted
won before,
the winner more than you guys combined.
Doesn't win often.
Look, the picks are over the year. You got to get somewhat consistent with them. Like it's not hard to not pick Kristen Tatar. Like
that one doesn't count.
It's easy to just pick Kristen Tatar.
I think I have 7 wins on the year.
Yeah,
Kristen doesn't count.
Exactly.
Tatar.
And so then when it comes to the other division, it's a little bit tougher. Or when you do have that player that just kind of comes out of nowhere, Cat Merch over at Jonesboro, and we see it throughout the year. But if you're a betting person, if we were putting money on this, then I'm picking the 2 people who I do think are the best players to win this event, and that's not a knock to any of the other players. It's just kind of a statistical standpoint at that point. So Ben, nothing from Gannon?
He said my internet is so bad, frowny face, tear emoji.
Let's try to get him on for next Monday then.
Yeah. I told him Evan has a cool stat about you to incentivize you to come on.
That's hilarious.
and no response. So I don't think it's happening today.
The stat isn't actually that cool, and Gannon probably could have done it in his head too.
All right, tell me, and I'll text it to him after we're done.
No, because I gotta leave it for next week.
Okay, true. If he comes on, hopefully he wins.
Well, guys, anything else to talk about tonight? We ran through a lot. We've got a crap ton of things happening in the suing department of disc golf, which is hilarious to even put that all in one sentence. Matt's down at Illinois right now. Obviously, we want to wish the best of luck to his boys that are playing out there, hopefully for safety, but also incredible play. Who knows? Maybe Tanner, I don't know if he's defending his title, if he moved up divisions, but maybe he goes back-to-back world championships. Maybe Hunter takes out a world championship. If one of them does, we got to get him on the show. Yeah, I think he did move up now that you say
MJ 10 this year, right? And he won MJ 8 last year.
Look, dude, one down, -1 through 5 holes. Kid's probably top 10 right now, top 5. I don't know.
I think when I checked, there's actually, I think the leader was 2 down, and there was like a million kids.
At 2 down?
Yeah.
2
or 1.
Yeah.
So like it's just there's no separation right now.
Sick. Yeah. So we got that going on. We've got people getting sued. We've got companies getting sued. We've got people getting people, heads are falling off. If anyone gets that movie reference. Your top 92 percentage on tour is 69%. So wait, what?
The amount of times you finish top 92.
Oh, okay. 69% of the
69.
time. 69% of the time. It works every time. So,
but since 2020, that number is 79%. So that includes a few of your like 2017 or your top 92 percentage is better.
Well, it's funny. The only reason I ever played events in 2017 and 2018 is because I had the opportunity to tour around with Paul for a little bit as my first year. I was like 945 rated. I mean, why not? I had the opportunity to go. I paid for the events and I got to play some really, really sick courses. 2019 though, I played really well actually at MVP Open. That's still to this day one of my favorite tournaments that I've played was in 2019 at MVP Open. That one was sick. Yeah. But dude, it's tough out there. Man, it is tough to play consistent good disc golf out there. Yeah, look at players. I mean, Parker Welk, no cash to winning to no cash. It's a wild game. But
same's going on with me and MA too. Just no cash to top 5 to no cash.
I'll say this year has been a very weird and inconsistent year for me. I've dropped below 1,000, went back up to 1,000, dropped below 1,000. And look, I don't look at a rating anymore. I try to win a tournament. I got 4th place at a tournament that had a lot of ad cash, and pretty much I made $500 to throw a frisbee for a day. And that was pretty awesome. And so I'm just out here, got a lot of other things going on, but I still love playing disc golf, still love competing in tournaments. And obviously my goal is to win any tournament that I go and play that realistically I have a chance. But man, a ton of cool stuff going on right now. And I can't wait to kind of like unleash it all into the world, because we've got some cool stuff going on. Especially head over to DiscuraDG.com when you get the chance in the next week or two. Check us out. Got some awesome stuff. Code Nick and Matt actually has a 10% discount code. We've got new polos.
Let's go.
Yeah, we've got new polos in stock. We've got, probably like 5 or 6 different jerseys now. We've got towels. We've got socks. Dude, we've got hats. If you want a pretty blue hat like this, check it out. Blue's my favorite color, and the hat's actually wicked comfortable.
Idea, Nick. You know how Puma has that like iconic P for golf?
Okay. Just put a big D on there.
Yeah, big D, but like kind of in the same style, just right in the middle. I think that'd be cool. You know what I'm saying?
I don't 100% know off the top of my head, but I'm sure.
I'm gonna pull up for you.
All right, you pull it up for me. Chat, anything that we missed tonight, let us know. We'll try to bang it out for Monday, but realistically, Ben, throw down that music.
Throwing it down. In 3, 2.
Oh, whoa, that was weird.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I know there's so many things going on in disc golf right now. There's so many podcasts that are even live right now in disc golf. So if you're done with us, Tour Life is going on. We know that. Go check out Tour Life. They're probably hitting some things that we missed as well over here on the Nick and Matt show. So, I know that hat now.
There you go.
Anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the video. Definitely like it. It helps us out a ton. Tell all your friends about us. Subscribe to the channel so you'll know when we go live. We are going to be back on a consistent Monday schedule. Last couple of weeks have been a little hectic, I think, for everyone. But we're going to get back there. Check out all of our sponsors that help us out on the show. Check out DiscuraDG.com, DG Max Wax, Double G Craft Jerky, Cosmic Disc Golf. This episode was presented by Cosmic Disc Golf. I think with a little mess up earlier, I forgot to say that, but Cosmic DG, bring you all your Cosmic needs. If you are a tournament director, definitely go check them out. But CosmicDG.com, we love them. They're incredible over there, and they help us out. Tell someone you love them this week. Catch you in the next one.
Nick, you're awesome. Ben, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome.
Peace.
See you.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.